Hello everybody and welcome to AwesomeEpicGuys with Edwin20 and my good old friend
Zwhatsh.
If you came here expecting a glorious and cheerful epic platoons of justice playing the brand new STRV K, also known as the new Sabaton tank, we are sorry to inform you that the tone of this video will be a little bit different.
This is the STRV K, or should I say more like not okay. This is the very first tier 9 premium tank. Not a reward tank, premium tank. This is yet another collaboration with Wargaming and Sabaton, the Swedish metal band. The previous one was the Prima Victoria at tier 8. This vehicle includes two styles that you can apply to the vehicle. One is a 3D style and one is a 2D style, which is pretty nice.
This is how the tank looks naked, the traditional Swedish dark green color. This is the plated armor style, which we believe is a style you can put on any tank in the game. And then we have the main style of this tank, the Spirit of War, which we gotta say looks absolutely fabulous. Like, this has to be one of the coolest styles that Wargaming have ever dropped into this game.
This vehicle also comes with the Sabaton crew included, a heavy variant of them instead of the medium Prima Victoria variant, although this new heavy variant is looking exactly the same as the medium one, so they couldn't even spend half an hour in Photoshop to make it somewhat different, but I guess it's Wargaming, you know.
The exact same! They could have just grabbed these in Photoshop and just adjusted the contrast or something, changed the color of their jackets, given them, you know, I don't know, a bigger or smaller mustache. They didn't do anything! I
guess all the budget went into the 3D style. The STRV K is a Swedish tier 9 premium heavy tank. The tank has the hull of the tier 10 Kranvagn and the turret of the tier 9 Centurion 7/1. So it's probably gonna be a hull-down beast.
Finally, Zwhatsh! Another hull-down monster! We don't have enough of these already, especially at tier 9. Hull-down beast, Zwhatsh! Yes! More meta tanks!
It looks kinda lazy from Wargaming's side, as the tank is more or less reused assets from two already existing tanks. However, the tanks was actually a historical proposal after the Kranvagn project failed in real life. So they were like, hey, maybe we can put a Centurion turret on it instead. So it's actually like historical and just not Wargaming being like, let's put two tanks together, boom, boom.
Like they did with the Brask.
It has some historical basis, which is nice, I guess.
There's been some drama in World of Tanks lately, mainly covering stuff like the now postponed Crew 2.0, the field modifications, the HE nerfs, the artillery changes. It really felt like that shitstorm had just kind of blown past, but Wargaming were like, how about a little more drama? Why do me and Zwhatsh, along with other content creators, believe that this new premium tank is so controversial compared to other premiums that Wargaming have released? Quite simple, it's a tier 9 premium. Tier 8 premium tanks that make more credits than normal Tech Tree tanks have been a thing since World of Tanks launch. Let's have a look what types of tanks we had back then. We don't remember their exact order of release into World of Tanks, but in the first few years the Tier 8 premium tank market was dominated by some of the following tanks.
The first ever Tier 8 premium was the M6A2E1, also known as the Mutant, which was part of a pre-order package, which was also promised to never be sold again. Lol. Thereafter we had the KV5, the IS-6, the Löwe, T-34, FCM-50T and the Type 59, amongst others. All of the mentioned tanks have received slight buffs here and there, but they have always been straight up worse than their Tech Tree counterpart, or in a way different. This was so far back in time that many Tier 6 tanks didn't even mind going up against Tier 8 premiums, because Tier 8 premiums usually had very exploitable weak spots. The most prominent example is the KV5, which has like huge tumors literally everywhere covering the tank.
However, as more and more players buy these Tier 8 premium tanks, Wargaming slowly have to make the new ones more attractive for the player base. And the easiest way of doing just that is just to make the new tanks better. Slowly over the years, new Tier 8 premium tanks have been added, and a common theme we have seen over the years is that they have slowly become better and better than the already existing ones. Because, let's be real here, why would you buy another tier 8 premium tank if the one you already have is as good or better than the new one that Wargaming is offering?
Even a couple of years down the line, most premium tanks were still just a bit different to their tech tree counterpart, until the Defender shitstorm happened. This is where tanks like the Defender, the Patriot and the Scorpion G were added, which is tier 8 premium tanks that were clearly better than their tech tree counterparts. And slowly these tanks started to dominate the tier 8 matchmaker. And this has been a common trend with a lot of tier 8 premiums, such as the Borask Renegade, Skoda T27, the Progetto 46, Object 703 and Skoda T56, just to mention a few. Not all of them are like this, but many. So what we are seeing here is that over the years, Wargaming has progressively increased the bar on how good the average tier 8 premium tank is.
And now to the controversial part about Wargaming adding a tier 9 premium tank. This cycle that has been going on for literally over 10 years now is rebooting. The STRV K is the first of its kind, and stats wise it's not super impressive compared to other tier 9 tanks, just like with the Löwe and the KV5 and those types of tanks back in the day.
We suspect that the overall sales of tier 8 premium tanks have decreased over the years due to people who actively want to play tier 8 premium tanks or want to buy ones already have the ones that they actually need, and they don't buy new tier 8 premium tanks because, you know, they have the few ones that they actively play. Especially now that there are a certain few tier 8 premiums that are pretty much objectively better than the rest of the tier 8 premium competition. So why would you want to waste more money on buying another tier 8 premium tank that you probably won't even play?
And now the STRV K is a way for Wargaming to force more sales to people who before this release were happy with the tier 8 premiums they already have. What me and Zwhatsh are very afraid of is that the current tier 8 premium tanks in the game will lose a lot of relevance. And there are a lot of them out there. Me, for example, I have 91 tier 8 premium tanks, and I am missing a couple of rarities. And I'm wondering, if Wargaming are releasing a tier 9 premium tank that is just better in terms of matchmaking, credit income and bond income, why on earth would you play your tier 8s? And an even better question, what are these tier 9 premiums gonna cost in the future in the premium shop? Oh my goodness, Zwhatsh. We would like to ask you guys this: if you are a owner of a bunch of tier 8 premium tanks and you've been playing World of Tanks for a couple of years plus, how do you feel about this release of a tier 9 premium? Please let us know in the comments, not only to boost us in the YouTube algorithm, but because we are genuinely interested in what you guys think, and maybe me and Zwhatsh are just overreacting to this tier 9 release. The STRV K was literally dropped out of nowhere. We had no idea that it was coming. We did, however, hear some rumors about a marathon tank that was tier 9 just a couple of days before Wargaming dropped the news. And we suspected that this tank in question would be some type of reward tank that could earn bonds. But here is where the problem starts to stack up. The STRV K does not only make bonds the rarest currency in the game, but it also has the same credit multiplier as a normal tier 8 premium tank. And all this while being at tier 9. All of these amazing perks, and you will never ever have to put up with the stupid +2 matchmaking. And yes, we know there are some tier 8 premium tanks out there with premium matchmaking, but they are very lacking to say the least. The STRV K does not seem to suffer from the bad penetration on its main rounds in the same way that tier 8 tanks with premium matchmaking do. The STRV K will probably be a fantastic credit maker, placed at the most comfortable and enjoyable tier in the game. Some people are making the argument that the credit making may not be as good because it has the tier 8 multiplier at tier 9, and tier 9 tanks are generally more expensive, so the repair cost might be a bit higher, the shell cost is probably going to be a bit higher, and so on. But it will probably make up for it and even more because you have good penetration on your standard rounds, because you are shooting at bigger tanks with more health, you will just on average deal more damage, and because you never have to be placed bottom tier. Basically, you will always have good conditions to have a good game.
We would also like to argue that tier 9 is generally more balanced than tier 8. Which will make the gameplay more consistent.
Probably the main reason we don't play our tier 8 tanks more is the fact that we keep getting crapped on by tier 10 tanks. which is why we love Frontline so much. Well, we did until Wargaming introduced Tier 9 tanks into the game mode. It totally makes sense to why you brute forced Tier 9 into Frontline now, Wargaming. Very clever indeed. With the STRV K, you can now enjoy both Frontline and the random queue without feeling the anxiety of being placed bottom tier.
And not only that, bonds, the rarest currency in the game, has for a while now been locked to events or tier 10. Meaning if you want to grind bonds, you need to put up with the enjoyable experience that is tier 10, while burning credits almost every game. The STRV K solves this issue. You can grind both of these currencies at the same time while never having to worry about being crapped on by the matchmaker. Wargaming said that they would never sell bonds, but now they are selling a tank that can earn bonds. Clever indeed. Wargaming have actually indirectly sold bonds in the past in the shape of World of Tanks premium account, where you can earn 25 bonds per day by completing missions. This did, however, blow over rather quickly because of the low amount of bonds you earned and because you actually had to put in some effort into it. Some of you might speculate that this STRV K might be an exception, that this will be the one and only Tier 9 premium, that Wargaming will learn from their mistakes and not drop another one. We are afraid that this might not be the case.
The STRV K has mediocre stats compared to other Tier 9 tanks, just like how the Tier 8 premium tanks of old did, and they slowly got better and better as time went on. We strongly suspect that the STRV K is the beginning of a new era of premium tanks in World of Tanks. And if you look at all the Tier 9 tanks that Wargaming have put on the super test of late, we don't think that the next one is very far away. Wargaming could have easily have made the STRV K a Tier 8 premium, but they didn't, proving that profits go above and beyond the health of their game while shoving a shovel up the ass of all the customers who have spent real life money on their game purchasing Tier 8 premium tanks. Wargaming themselves are probably fully aware that many people dislike the current +2 matchmaker, and instead of fixing it, which they could literally do overnight, they are selling you the solution in shape of this premium tank.
Also, with the Tier 9 ship drama in World of Warships, Wargaming is under a microscope by the media for selling a Tier 9 premium ship in gambling loot boxes, amongst other things we won't waste your time talking about. And now World of Tanks dropped their first Tier 9 premium tank. This timing could not have been any worse. At least they are not selling it in a loot box. Yet.
In our opinion, the release of the STRV K was greedy and unnecessary by Wargaming. They could have addressed the matchmaker and maybe introduced a new system where Tier 8 premium tanks, or maybe even more tanks, could also make bonds in random battles. Just like with the current system at Tier 10. But probably not as much, of course. For example, the lower tier you play, the less bonds you would make per game, just as an example. But instead, Wargaming brute forced a Tier 9 premium tank that nobody asked for, because it will make them a lot more money. And here's another question that keeps popping into our mind. What will Wargaming do with all the currently existing Tier 8 premium tanks? One of the most common questions that me and Zwhatsh get on livestream and in YouTube comments and on Discord and similar are people who are about to purchase maybe their first or one of their first Tier 8 premium tanks because they needed to boost their credit economy, and they ask us, Zwhatsh, Edvan, which Tier 8 premium tank should I get? Usually the answer is not buy that tank, because it's the best one, because there usually hasn't been a best one, but it usually comes down to what type of playstyle they like. You know, are they a tank destroy kind of guy, then I don't know, maybe the Scorpion or the PM. If they're a bit of a medium person, you know, maybe the T-44-100, maybe the Progetto.
Maybe they're a new player, we might suggest a heavy or a super heavy tank,
exactly.
etc, etc.
There's almost never a straight up answer, because it differs depending on who you are as a player.
But now, since there is only one Tier 9 premium tank, that's gonna be the one and only decisions for literally every player who wants to have a credit income / bond income tank.
This is where the drama kind of comes from. Why on earth would you play anything else if you have the STRV K? That is the main problem here. Wargaming could have made this thing just a reward tank, or maybe it could have had a small credit multiplier along with the bond income. They could have just made it a different type of reward tank or premium tank, but instead they went with the brute force route and just made it a better Tier 9 premium tank that everyone wants who wants to boost their economy. And the worst of it all, this is probably just the beginning. Well, on the positive note, maybe this will result in a reduction of price for Tier 8 premiums, but I wouldn't get my hopes up.
It feels like tier 8 premiums are gonna become the new tier 6 premiums, essentially.
Why would you play an STRV 81 when you can buy an STRV K?
Sorry for the sad tone of this video. We truly love World of Tanks, but we are also truly sad that wargaming is more attracted to short-term income rather than the healthy longevity of the game.
We can also add that we truly to a 150% understand that wargaming is a company and they need to make money. However, we do think that you need to be ethical about the way you make your income. You wanna make a good game so players want to spend their hard-earned cash supporting it and not forcing sales the way you currently are, because this is borderline predatory and toxic in my opinion. And worst of it all is probably that the release of this tier 9 premium tank is just one big thick finger up the ass to all the customers who have bought a bunch of tier 8 premium tanks, because let's be real, why would you play anything else? And that is the core problem of this new tank. It simply makes all the other tier 8 premium tanks obsolete.
We're gonna be very clear on this one. We only played one single random battle for this. What is this even? What is this video, Edon? I have no idea.
I have no idea.
We have played one game for this video, so we don't have much of an opinion on this tank, but from what we gather is it's kind of a basic vehicle, really. It feels like your standard tier 9 heavy tank.
You could compare it very much to the Centurion 7-1, the tier 9 medium tank, but it's a heavy and it's a bit slower. As Zwhatsh said, the numbers themselves, the stats themselves are not gonna shock you. There are no new mechanics or anything. The selling point is that this is the first tier 9 premium tank in the game that makes bonds and it makes credits, and it's a Sabaton tank, and the styles it comes with, they also look fantastic, not gonna lie. We believe that people are not gonna purchase this vehicle for its statistics or its capabilities on the battlefield, but for the status of being the first tier 9 premium tank that can earn a crap lot of credits and bonds.
We didn't really have time to try out the tank properly because it was literally dropped out of nowhere by Wargaming like the evening before the NDA, so...
We also didn't feel like making a Platoons of Justice video about this tank was very appropriate, because we feel that this tank has a very sad tone over it, and when we make our Platoons of Justice videos, we usually try to hype things up, we're trying to have a good time and trying to meme around, and we didn't feel that this tank was very appropriate for that mindset when we were recording this video.
Back to the stats themselves about the tank, it's very traditional. It's got a 390 Alpha heavy gun, it's got a strong turret, you can use full down tactics, it's nothing new, nothing fancy about it. The hull armor is pretty butter, so if you expose it, you're gonna get penned, basically. It's you've been there, done that, basically. We do want to mix in some positivity in here, and we do think the Sabaton crossover is cool. We like the style, and we like the effects that come from the tank, or the skin, and we like the intro animation that covers or like goes above the tank when the game begins, and we like the little music jingle that plays when you start out with the crew in the tank.
Those are the details that we like.
This tank is unfortunately gonna be mostly tainted by its status as the first tier 9 tank, which might possibly be a start of a darker age of World of Tanks.
I wouldn't consider this tank bad, but it's definitely not better. It's not a Concept 1B, it's not a Kampfpanzer 50 or anything like that. It's pretty mediocre. This also makes us believe even more that upcoming tier 9 premium tanks will probably be better, because just as Wargaming did in the past with the Lava and the KV5 and the I6 and the FCM and the Type 59, all those tanks, is that they are probably slowly gonna stack these tanks up, because why would you buy the next tier 9 premium if the one you have is just as good or better? So this is probably the beginning of something new.
This vehicle, as you already know, can earn bonds. At first glance, we thought that it was a positive thing that it cannot earn unlimited bonds, because that would definitely be another brute force selling factor for this vehicle. But then at second glance, this probably means that Wargaming wants to push more tier 9 premiums into the game, because if you have more tier 9 premiums in your garage, you can earn more bonds, as just one single tier 9 premium tank can only earn so much bonds. You will need several tier 9 premiums to earn a lot of bonds.
The bond limit, as of now, at least for this one, and I believe for all the tier 10s as well, is 100 a week. It gets reset every Monday, I think. If you play the living crap out of this tank for one evening, you're probably gonna reach that cap of 100 rather quickly, at least if you perform reasonably well. But This probably means that Wargaming in-store have a lot of other tier 9 premiums that are coming up, and that's gonna be an even better selling point, because this means if you have, let's say, 4 or 5 of these in your garage, you can spam bonds and credits like no tomorrow. It's gonna be such a fantastic selling point, practically sell you the right to grind a shitload of bonds. And Zwhatsh, this leads on to something else that we have been suspecting for a while now.
If we're gonna see the inclusion of more tier 9 vehicles in the game in the future, this will also mean that you will more easily be able to obtain bonds within the game, which will probably make the bond market more relevant. Wargaming is probably gonna push the bond shop even more, or might even implement bond-related purchases into the black market.
Over the years, Wargaming have aggressively attempted to drain your credits because there are so many events that are running where you can earn credits. There are boosters, we have Frontline, we have the Christmas boxes, and because the game is so old, a lot of people have unlocked everything that they want to unlock, so not really spending that much credits. Just look at the updates like field mods, the upcoming Crew 2.0, and basically every event that Wargaming throws into this game, there are attempts to make you drain credits, and probably the best example is the black market. And this is something that has been a growing problem for years, and they're becoming more and more aggressive in different ways to drain your credits, and this will probably start a new wave of the same problem, but for bonds, if Wargaming release more of these tier 9 premium tanks, and let's be real, they will.
So, will this tank be worth grinding through a marathon for? Yes, because this is gonna be the premium tank.
This is the core problem. Why would you get anything else?
Yes, this is gonna be the premium tank. This is the premium tank you want to have.
Yes, so if you can get this thing, we don't know what the price is gonna be if you are to just outright buy it. It's tier 9, it's probably gonna be higher than the tier 8s. But if you think you have the ability to grind this thing out completely or get like an 80 or 90% discount, we would recommend that you try, not because we want to ruin your social life or anything, but as we have been stating multiple times already, why would you play any other premium tank when this thing is available? This marathon, if we did the math correctly, it will acquire you to either do, well, the different missions at tier 9 or 10, or you can just grind base XP while being in the top 10 from tier 6 to tier 10, and that is 262,000 base experience, but it is actually not that much more than the previous marathons for tier 8s, so it is definitely doable if you are a, like Zwhatsh, living in your mom's basement, full-time gamer, you can definitely do it, but if you are a casual gamer who only plays a couple of hours per evening, then no, forget it. I believe that's everything there is to say about the tank, like, is it worth it? I mean, as we said, why would you get anything else? Before we go, we would love to hear what you guys have to say in the comments. Maybe me and Zwhatsh and other creators are just overreacting.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Hope to see you in a more happy, more epic and awesome video in the future. Have a good one, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.